This is Bob Latchford, and you're watching Toffee TV.
Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the Everton fan channel. It is me, Ped. I'm here with Matt Jones. Baz has done something to himself. He spent a couple of days in hospital. Got a little bit poorly at the moment, so we send all our best wishes and love to Baz through the screen. Best wishes. He'll be back next week, hopefully. We'll see. We are here to talk about Everton 3-2 victory over West Brom. It is the final word. And Matt, what can you say about this game? Unbelievable. There was me, 9:15 Monday night, thinking, oh no, bad week, terrible performance, going into a Merseyside derby, and yet we pull it from the Flames, and get the victory.
I think before you even start analysing it, it's just the feel-good factor which is going to give everybody after the game and going into the weekend. I think, I'm not gonna lie. I've watched the highlights about 3 or 4 times now, and it's just great seeing that third goal going in and all the fans behind the goal all made up, and it's just going to be the momentum that we carry forward from it. Because if you look at the 2 games we've had against Swansea and West Brom away from home, I think we all probably took 4 points there, and it was looking so bleak. Everyone was down. Social media was going mad for that second goal for the minutes afterwards, and you just wondered if we'd lost that game, how it would affect us going forward after such a bright start. And a lot of the good work we've done might have been forgotten, but great credit to the lads, the manner in which they came back, because it's not a new thing this season. They've done it against Watford on the last day, came back and salvaged something in the game, did it against Barnsley in the cup, Reading in the cup, and then the best one of all really on Monday. It was great spirit, great the way they adjusted the game and realised they had to play quicker in the match. Brilliant changes by Martinez, which is something he's done well in the last couple of games. Yeah. So all positive in that last half an hour, and masses of momentum to carry into the derby on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, you take the 2 games. We talked about the Swansea game, last week, and we were saying, but 2 points dropped. And if we took that momentum, it would have been a big win. And it was sort of like this one as well. You think if we hadn't got the win, you look at it and you think, that. We've played really well in the Swansea game, and then you go into that game. But it's almost like the opposite ends, isn't it? We played really well in the Swansea game. They only got a point, and then West Brom, certainly for the first hour, I mean, that first half was just... the goal was poor, but it wasn't us, was it? It was just we didn't have any rhythm. We weren't getting players up to support, Romelu Lukaku. We just never really got going, and to go into half-time 1-0 down, it was, I'm not saying we deserve much more, but it was annoying because West Brom was one of those games where, you take Watford as well, first game of the season. It was a team that were going to try and stifle us. Yeah. And that's what annoyed me about the first half. A team that were going to go and stifle us, like we've seen a lot last season, and we just couldn't raise ourselves above that. And that was the big worry for me first half, when going in 1-0 down, just capped it off.
Yeah, I think it was noticeable how withdrawn we were in that first half and how deep we played. Naismith wasn't really in the game. He was kind of holding that position on the left-hand side, and that didn't give us any real variety going forward. And it looked as though they'd been told just to keep that shape as a priority, not give any space to West Brom initially. Because they were at home, they had Branningan, Rondon playing, and a lot of attacking players. They were going to go at Everton, I think, and they started the game quite well. And when that goal did come, and it was a ball from the blue, and I know it was a lot of poor mistakes, but I don't think we looked like conceding before that goal. Yeah. And there was the Barkley chance. Deulofeu was starting to get a little bit more of the ball. And I just wondered if the game plan was to get that back 4 settled, which is unfamiliar, let them grow into the game a little bit, and then from there build and go and win the game in the second half. Obviously, that's what happened in the end, but it was in a much more anarchic fashion than I'm sure Martinez would have expected. But it was, I can understand why there's a little bit of caution there, because you look at the back four that we had. John Stones was, he's a player that changes the entire way that Everton play. You had 2 usual right backs out in Hibbert and Coleman, 2 usual left backs out in Oviedo and Baines. So it's a really unfamiliar back four, 2 young players there. So I can understand why he was trying to protect that part of the team initially, ultimately, but you can't account for the mistakes like the first goal, unfortunately.
But as well, though, I mean, you mentioned there, you take Stones out there, it's not just his defending, it is, he dictates the way we play. Yeah. That again, that's one of the things that doesn't really get noticed a lot of the time. He's allowed to come out with the ball from the back And it means that Barry doesn't have to come back and look for it. He means he can have a higher start up the pitch, and everyone else can have a higher start. And you know, it was so noticeable from last season when, you know, it was Distan and it was Jags, and the amount of times that Barry had to come back, and it meant teams could press a lot higher. But with Stones, they can't really do that, especially if they've got like a lazy centre forward, or you know, one that's not naturally. Stones is good enough to come out with the ball. Everyone can have a higher starting position, and it allows us to play a lot freer. But what I thought, you know, what you see in Monday night in that first half was we didn't look that comfortable on the ball at the back. Browning's not naturally, you know, he's a defender, and he's a young defender, and that hopefully that'll come. Funes Mori, you know, you're not sure what we're going to get with him at the moment. It was only his first, you know, Premier League start, so as you're saying, it was all very tentative, and I think sometimes Jags, he I don't know, he sort of overcompensates at times for me when he's having to sort of look after that defence a little bit more. And obviously it was a switch for him as well because he's playing on the right again. I know that's more natural, but we've said before, when he's on the left hand side, he plays more of a natural defender game, and we know what their roles are, but suddenly that role switch when he's got to play on the right. So you know, you're right what you're saying. I think we tried to just go forget the first half over and done with, but then you see it only takes one stupid mistake.
Or several.
Or several. You know, so many. The whole back five were sort of culpable in their own ways, and Barry was culpable in a way, and all those little things just all added up to concede just a really stupid goal.
I think that's it. That was something which was quite noticeable last season about us. When something goes wrong in the game and it doesn't go to plan, we do seem to panic. And I can remember against Swansea actually the week before when a similar sort of thing happened, and the ball came to Gareth Barry really quick, and he just headed it up in the air, and it went through to Gomes, and that was their best chance in the match. And you just wonder in those sorts of situations with a little bit more composure whether we'd be better getting back into a shape and making better decisions. But when you're trying to play that way and you're trying to pass out from the back, if it does go wrong and you've got to change that mindset quickly, you can kind of see why they do get into a little bit of a panic mode, and that's what happened, unfortunately. I mean, credit to Morrison, and it was a brilliant pass through to Berahino, but there was so many different errors on our
from
part.
Funes Mori's run, Galloway not seeming to offer anything. Jagielka didn't really.
He overcompensated, didn't he, on that side?
Yeah, he just completely let. You know, Branningan doesn't really go with Trakamada. Tim Howard, you can say, did he need to come out that far? There's all little mistakes. It wasn't just like one huge mistake, because even Funes Mori, when he gives that ball away, really, you know, it's so far out that really shouldn't affect him. But then Barry gives it away as well, and it's all those little things that just added up. But you know, that happens in the game. What was a little bit more disappointing was the way they come out second half, and it never got them going. And you could see that West Brom's tails were up, you know, and they're the ones who were pressing, they're the ones who wanted to go and get that second goal. And again, poor defending from a set piece, 2 set pieces. I mean, the first one, why Jagielka knocks that ball out for a corner, I'll never know. I know people say safety first, but I'm a defender of his experience should know, you know, if he's got time to lash in Rowe's head rather than put it out for a corner.
It's a tough one, that, I think, though, because you look at the first goal and you could accuse us of being, you know, overplaying in that one and trying to do too many things, and you just wonder if that's in his head at that point in the match. He doesn't want to take a chance on the ball in the dangerous area because of the fact that we just tried to do exactly the same before half time and we got caught out by it. And it's that age-old thing, isn't it? People say it all the time, and in football, if you score just before half time, it's such a massive lift, and you could see our players going off at the break that the heads were down a little bit. They weren't really with it. We didn't finish the half very well at all, and the momentum swing back in West Brom's favour after what was a really even, not many chances created at all.
It was a terrible half. It was awful. It was like, you know, I was looking at Twitter and I was watching, you know, gauging non-Everton fans and non-West Brom fans, and they were sitting there going, this is like watching paint dry.
Watching something else
completely. You know, it was awful. It was an awful game of football. You know, it only got slightly brightened up by those goals for the neutral, but as you said, scrum just before the half and just after the half, it is the killer sucker punch. It is what decides a lot of games. But you know, fair play, we were at it straight from the whistle. You know, we got it wide, and something we just didn't do enough of was getting the ball into the box, but having men in there we just didn't do enough of that. And with Deulofeu, he's a player now for me who can deliver quality into the box, with those crosses.
Well, that's where he's gone up level for me, Deulofeu. You look at his first season, and there were times when he came into the team off the bench in the second half of matches, and he was always trying to beat his man. He had something to prove in a way. He come from Barcelona with a bit of a reputation, and he wanted to show what he could do. And every time he squared his man up, he'd go down the outside and then try and fizz a cross in. And it did become a little bit predictable at times, even though he did give us an edge. Whereas now, you could see that I think Chris Brunt got a lot of stick after the game from the pundits saying he's backed off him, but he's probably looked at a player like him and thought he's just going to try and beat him down the outside. Don't give him the chance to do it. Whereas now, in the games against Barnsley when he came on, against Reading, and in this one, he's shown Deulofeu that he can just get his head up and just whip a ball into that area, and he must have done it about 4 or 5 times in that game, and that's ultimately what's going to set him apart from being an average sort of winger, with all due respect to someone like Aaron Lennon, who's made a good career. He's fast and sharp and he works hard, but his final ball's a little bit lacking, whereas the really top quality wingers can deliver that crossing as well. It makes it so difficult to defend against, whether the defender can get tight, whether he should drop off.
Yeah.
And the fact as well that it sounds really simple, but he just holds his position on the right wing. And I remember Thierry Henry talking about when he went to Barcelona and how they teach their players their positional discipline when they're going forward as well as defensively. And you can see that in him. He very rarely gets dragged inside, chasing the ball, chasing the game. He keeps that shape for us so well. And you can see that on the first and third goal in earnest.
Yeah, I mean, as you say there, in his first season for us, the amount of times, he tried to take the full-back on. And what he found in the Premier League was he found a lot of good full-backs. Yeah. I mean, because we're in an era now where a full-back is almost a winger. They're fast, they're sharp, and a lot of them can defend as well, or certainly they'll just take the winger to the byline. And what seems to have happened, not straight away, but certainly in the last couple of games, the last 2-3 games, is he does get his head up and he'll just fizz a ball into the box and just... It's gambling, but at the same time, you've got players in there, especially someone like Romelu Lukaku, who thrives from that kind of cross. He's going to get joy. He's going to get joy doing that. And as you say, it's mixing it up as well. There are times when he needs to go to the line, and it's making sure the fullback doesn't know, which way he's going to go, and it's nice to see that, because I think what's refreshing about that is you can get away with that in a bedding situation. Do you know what I mean? It's like there'll be, as the season goes on and he gets more confident and stronger, and he will start taking people on and taking them to the line or cutting inside and trying to use his... I mean, I remember this first, the amount of times he used to cut in and get on that left foot, and the shots were so weak most of the time that it's good that he's planting foundations by doing the simple thing. But luckily for him, his simple thing is quite beneficial for the team.
It's encouraging that he did it for the full match as well. When he was in his first season, he had a reputation as an impact player coming off the bench, making a difference in games. It was the same sort of thing at Sevilla when he played there last year, early doors, and the fact that he's played those 2 League Cup games, well, he started one and came off the bench in the other. I think McPartland has been gradually building him up, and the fact that he was on it in the first half and then in the second half, when we needed a player to get the game by the scruff of the neck a little bit, he delivered, and he was on it for the full 90 minutes. And I know he messed up that counter attack at the end, but that was the only blemish really on his performance. And it's he's got a chance now, I think, to nail that spot down on the right wing and make it his own. Because if you look at the performances he's had so far, he's got 4 assists, 1 goal. He's played just under, I think played 270 minutes of football altogether. So that equates to 5 contributions in 3 matches, and he's basically made himself undroppable now with that performance.
The good thing I like about him as well is so far is we haven't seen sort of that explosive pace yet. Like really, I haven't. You know what I mean? I haven't seen him like really gallop, and I think that's good, because if you're not playing every week and your muscles are not used to it, he'll end up doing himself. Yeah. He'll do himself an injury like he did when when he was playing, was it Stoke when he got the injury? It was, when he was in his first spell and he was out for the best part of 2 months, just because he was getting more into the team, and his hamstring went and it's almost like, I'm sure he hasn't been told not to, but it's almost like he's easing himself into the team, and he's doing a lot more simple things, and just instead of just going, proper galloping, and because he will, if he does do it, without sort of bedding himself into the physicalities of the Premier League, he'll pick up injuries. So I'm glad that he's having to do it. He's not having to use that explosive pace yet, and he's still getting results.
It's something that our forward players are going to get used to as well. Albie, you looked in his first few matches, and the amount of crosses he's put into the box, and no one's been on the end of them, and people have been criticising the likes of Lukaku and they were saying, why aren't you, they're perfect crosses, why aren't you not on the end of it? We've not had a player like that in the team for the best part of the year now, and his final ball is something that's improving so much. And the likes of Lukaku, he'll be making those runs to the post more often now. Well, yeah, hopefully, yeah. And the likes of Naismith, he'll be getting into the box a little more often now, because they know he's either going to beat his man down the line and swing a good cross in, or he's just going to stand the ball up and put it in straight away. So he'll give confidence to the strikers to make those runs more often.
Well, it's funny because Lukaku, for me, obviously he was getting pelters before he scored his first goal. And a lot of people call him lazy, and people call him for him to be dropped. And we spoke beforehand about Kone, and how we would like to have seen him, drop from the team, because there isn't that option. There isn't that option on the bench that can come on for Lukaku or come on and play with Lukaku. And we've got options on the right, with Deulofeu obviously, and Lennon and different people. So, but I think. And I got pelters for it, because I put on Twitter that for me, Romelu Lukaku, he doesn't sniff those chances out like a proper number 9. You're talking about Deulofeu flashing balls across the box. He's not someone who maybe it's because he doesn't get enough of those crosses that he takes a chance. Like you see the old fashioned strikers, and you think, how is he there for that tapping so many times? But if you swing a cross into Rom, he'll be there or thereabouts, especially when he's got someone up there with him. The first goal, Naismith's in there with him. He's taking a defender away from him. He's leaving him one-on-one. And when you leave him one-on-one like that, he's a great jumper. He's a good header of the ball. A lot of the times, there's only going to be one winner.
Yeah, his game for me is all about isolating defenders, isn't it? If you can get him one-on-one against a defender, whether that's running at him, whether it's back to him, whether it's in the air, he should be beating them, because he's got the physicality to do it, and he's got the pace to do it as well. So he should be getting the better of defenders in all those kinds of situations. And if we can continue to isolate him against players, look at that Southampton game earlier in the season when we counter-attacked well, and he was up against one defender or the fullback. He ran riot, and I still think there's improvements he can make in his game. I understand why people criticise him, because you see 30-minute spells like that against West Brom, like he was against Southampton in the first half, and you look at him and think, with a little bit more consistency, you could be doing that all the time. And I know he's still young, I know he's still learning, but there are little things in his game, so even things like making runs down to the channels, offering himself for the ball a little bit more, not throwing his hands up in the air when he doesn't get the right pass. Getting back into the game. It's because you mentioned there about number 9. It's in those little phases where they typically get the chances from, when the play's broken down, and they can anticipate and capitalise on defenders who aren't quite switched on. That's where that's where strikers do get the chances, and that's not something he can't learn. There's instinctive things about being a centre forward, but there are basics as well when it comes to those sorts of traits. So I'm sure he will pick them up, and when you've got a player like Deulofeu who's putting great crosses in every match, that's going to come naturally.
Hopefully, the more Deulofeu's putting crosses like that in the box, the more times he'll gamble on those crosses coming in the box and make him more that kind of striker. Maybe the service hasn't been there. Maybe that's one of the key things. But he got us back in the game.
Oh, yeah.
And you just thought once we had that first goal, just thought, well, really now, I didn't think there was it. I didn't necessarily think we were going to go on and win the game, but I did think that that the game would completely change. And bringing Kone on and bringing Gibson on, I thought were massively important to the step up.
They were great substitutions, and that's something that I was quite critical of Martinez last season. He was more reactive rather than proactive with his changes, and even in the early stages of this season, there were times when you just think, we're going through the motions here in the game, and we're kind of waiting for something to happen rather than sort of happening itself. And the change against Reading as well, Gareth Barry, you look at that and people see a striker coming off the midfield play and they go mad and you're thinking, oh, why are we bringing a striker off when we need to attack? And it was the same with Gibson, you know, why are we bringing a player like him when we've got Aaron Lennon on the bench? But just giving us that foothold in the game. I think he said getting up the pitch in dangerous areas, keeping the ball, and Gibson moved it really quick as well. It wasn't anything flashy, it wasn't really anything spectacular, but he just got the ball and moved it fast, and then that draws players in. And then that's where the space for Deulofeu comes out on the right wing. And the changes were brilliant. And having Kone coming up that left flank, again, made more space for Lukaku, allowed them to isolate the defender. And that's when he's at his best.
Yeah, I thought subs spot on. And as you say, it's not always about going for like. Sometimes, you know, you bring a player like Gibson on or Barry in the Reading game, it allows other players to get further forward. And as you mentioned there, you know, Lukaku having Kone there up with him there, it just created that little bit of space, and you know, you see Lukaku then dropping into the gaps, Kone playing on the shoulder, and it was a lovely little ball. You know, Kone did well to keep himself on side, and Kone, once he gets in them positions, he doesn't get in them very often, but he's very, very clinical. You know, his finish was identical to the one against Watford. Once he gets in those positions, you know, he generally puts it in the back of the net.
I did think he was going to miss though when he went through. Like, do you know when you have that flash? When
I
think
he's really good in those positions. Yeah. He's not a forward that really you ever see him sort of. A lot of forwards, you see them get in that position. It's almost like they've got too much time. But he's never struck me as anyone like that. He normally gets in there. You know. The goal he scored against Newcastle, it's sad that you can name them all. The goal he scored against Newcastle was pretty much the same. You know, he's very. If he's got time, it doesn't seem to bother him. He just doesn't get in those positions enough. I
think he's quite an intelligent player, isn't he? I don't think a lot of people give him credit for that. His movement's quite good, and his general hold-up play and the way he links things together is really good. He's going to be. I think he can be a useful option off the bench for us, especially in games like that where, say, Lukaku was a little bit isolated and was struggling to get the ball through to him, and he, especially in that role when he comes in off the flanks and you've got defenders who are tired, they've been put under pressure a lot of the time. That's when they switch off, and it was a really clever run, wasn't it? Because it looked as though he was offside at first glance, didn't he? But you can see he's looked along the line there, and then he's clocked the left backs just sagged in a little bit.
Well, he's took a chance. Yeah. I mean, he might necessarily have. He's took a chance. It's instinctive forward play. I mean, that's generally what it is. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. And that's when they say playing on the shoulder. That's exactly what it is.
Just about Rom as well. That pass was really good. Yeah. And I don't think it's a one-off. It's something he's done quite a lot. If you think earlier in the game when McCarthy got slipped in and did that dive, it was exactly the same sort of thing. He had his back to goal, turned and played a little pass in between the two defenders. So if he can start doing that on a more regular basis, getting on the end of crosses, they're two massive areas of his game where we can get better.
Rom just gets isolated, and I think that's half the problem. He's just not that kind of centre forward at the moment. But you know, once we got that, I mean, I shouldn't really forget to mention, you know, Galloway's tackle, because, you know, a 2-1, you know, they've got a chance, and there's Galloway throwing a life-saving tackle in again, and then finds himself, you know, 15 seconds later up the other end of the pitch. You know, he's coming to left back, and he's got so much about him, and he reads the game so well for a lad of his age.
Oh, he's just getting better and better, isn't he? When you consider as well, before he came to Everton, he only played 10 games, I think, for MK Dons. It's to make that step up to the Premier League after making 7 starts in the division. He was so good. He had a lad there in Funes Mori who's not played in the Premier League before. Well, he's not started in the Premier League before. He had Naismith in front of him, who's not really a left winger, and just the way he handled himself again in the whole game. There were times when he was giving barking orders to Gareth Barry and players like that, and that just shows you how much confidence he's got at the moment. And we would all seem really worried about when Leighton Baines got into the start of the season, and up to now it's not really been mentioned, has it? He's come in and he's really shored up that left hand side, and it's encouraging to see, like you mentioned there. He seems to have the confidence now, especially with Brown at right back. It seems that Martinez has said to him, you know, you're going to have to be the fullback that pushes on today and get up the pitch.
I think Martinez obviously just fills those young players with loads of confidence and says to them, listen, play the way you want to play. Don't be dictated to by the, you know, I think it's good management. I think, you know, maybe less so now, but in the old days, you couldn't shout at a senior player like that. You just couldn't do it. The senior player would pull rank and wouldn't allow it. And therefore, I think that would have a derogatory effect on those young players, the way they played, the way they carried themselves. You just don't get that now. And I think, like, you look at Stones, you look at Galloway, they feel like they can express themselves either football-wise or just telling people off for not doing the job. I think that's really important, for their developments, to be leaders. And the good players, if they feel like someone's not doing the job they should be doing, they should be able to tell them.
Yeah.
That's a massive part of football. But obviously that was the life-saving tackle. Then we get the goal, and then obviously Deulofeu again throws another ball in the box, and this was good centre forward play by Ron. Gets in front of a couple of players. Uses a couple of body parts. Maybe one was his hand. I don't really care.
Yeah.
And then finishes it, and you could tell, that 2-2. There was only ever going to be one winner. If anyone won, it was only ever going to be us, and that was great to see. It was great to see the team went for it. The belief, the fact that they could change it with the subs. Because I looked at the bench before and I just thought there is nothing there that can really change the game. Everything's on the pitch. So to be able to do that, come back and have that belief and the confidence, that shows where we're going in the right direction.
I think they overcame two massive mental hurdles for me, because you look at the way we played last season, and two of the big issues were scoring goals against teams who packed the defence and hard to defend against, hard to attack against, hard to get space against. And the other thing was we had an appalling record coming from behind last season. I think the first time we came back from in the Premier League and won a game from a goal down was in the second to last game against West Ham. Yeah. So already there, 6-7 weeks into the season, we've shown in that one game that we've got the ability to come back in games, and not just against the team, at home against our bog standard side. West Brom, I think, they hadn't conceded a goal for over a month in the Premier League. They're a team who had more clean sheets than anyone this year since Pulis has taken over. So to do that against them, when I don't think anyone would have given us a chance at 2-0.
No.
And the way in which they played, that's the template now for me against teams like that. You've got to get a player in the middle of the park who's going to move the ball quick, whether that be Gibson, Barkley, Gareth Barry, and then Deulofeu as well, giving us that outlet on the right wing. It just gives us an edge, just something a little bit different, and that's how you get round these sorts of teams.
And there's a core belief there that the team can win, and even being 2-0 down, you feel like same with Reading last week, wasn't it? They go goal down, but you still feel like they come out the second half. Barnsley as well. Look how terrible the first half against Barnsley. You just think these players feel like once they start playing, they're going to score goals. They're going to get, they're going to get into the game. That's a massive belief to have. It's fantastic, because you just think there'll be tougher games this season, but if they go behind, to have that inner belief that they can still come back and win the games, that's going to be so important. Because I think a lot of the times, especially I think we experienced a lot under Moyes, when you went that goal behind, you never felt like those teams would come back. So maybe last season we probably didn't have the belief, but I think now we're starting to feel like, we don't want to be in those situations, but the team probably feels like if they do get in those situations, they can come back and still win the game. So that's massive. Yeah,
I think having a young team probably helps as well, because we looked a bit jaded last year, didn't we, at times? And there's some games.
But wasn't like the average age, if you replace like Jackson and obviously Gareth Barry, it's like 22.
Yeah. Like
if it was Stones instead of Jags, and it was Bessage instead of Barry, but the average age would be 22. I mean, that's massive. Exactly. And encouraging.
And when you're chasing games like that, and we've not got Europa League anymore either, which is it physically it must have an impact. And when you've got players in there who are fresh and they're young and they can keep going all the way through games, that's obviously a major talking point. But what do you think of Lukaku's celebration? Would you want to see him doing that every week?
I can't even remember him ever doing that. Did he do that at West Brom?
I've seen him do it for West Brom before, so maybe that's why I did it. But I had my heart, because when he did the second backflip, I thought, he's not done this right.
Neck brace.
Yeah,
don't be doing that too often. Yeah. Just score loads of goals. Don't do backflips.
Just hand in the air, fine, isn't it?
They love him though. They give him a massive, clap, didn't he? When
imagine
he came off.
Imagine if he'd done that against us.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been quite the same reception, would he?
No. But a fantastic win, fantastic comeback. I never have ever thought we were going to do that when we were we went 2-0 down. But even when we were just 1-0 down, I just never thought we were going to do that. Tell us what you think in the comments. Tell us what you... Jake's loving it because he said 3-2. I said 1-0. I went for a win, so that's fair enough.
I thought it was going to be 0-0.
Yeah, a lot of people thought it was going to be 0. Tell us what you think about the game in the comments below. Don't forget, tell us on Twitter as well. It is at Toffee TV 1. Don't forget to subscribe. We've gone past the 5,000. We've done it. We've gone past the 5,000. That was going to be our season total, and we've done it before October. Amazing scenes. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you to everyone for doing that. This has been Toffee TV, and we'll see you soon.